Good morning and welcome to this meeting of Wigtown Area Committee. To start off with, we're going to take a short recess just to check because we've been having technical problems. Thank you and apologies for that. So item 1 is the appointment of chairperson. The first job we have this morning is to appoint a new chair for Wigtown Area Committee. Governance Officer Claire Rogerson will provide us with a background and then seek nominations. Claire.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Just to advise the committee, Councillor Ingalls resigned as chair of this committee during the summer recess. Full council have given delegation to area committees to appoint the chair, so therefore members are asked to appoint the chair for Wigtown Area Committee today.
Thank you for that, Claire. Councillor Ingalls?
Yeah, I'd like to propose Councillor Giusti.
And I'm happy to second Councillor Giusti.
I'm happy to accept members. Although for the time
Andrew, sorry, we've got Councillor Hagman wanting to come in.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. Thank you for that. Can I just confirm, Claire had said we were looking to appoint a chair for today. Is this appointment just for today or is this the chair for Wigtown Area Committee? Just to get clarification.
Sorry, maybe I used my words wrong. Today, to appoint a chair, today for the meeting and beyond.
Okay, Councillor Giusti.
I'm happy to take the chair from beyond. However, I'll struggle to take it on today before 12 o'clock. So I would ask that the vice chair continue until 12 o'clock and then we have a brief break at which I can take over.
Right, well, standing orders, there should just be one chair in the meeting. Councillor Ingalls.
Chair, can I propose Councillor Hill takes over for today? And today only.
Yeah, I'm happy to chair the meeting today. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you. Just to keep us correct in governance terms, are we confirming that Councillor Hill will be the chair of Wigtown Area Committee? However, no, we're appointing Councillor Giusti, but if the chair is in the committee, can the chair... How does that work? I'm just conscious, if the chair cannot chair the meeting but can still be in the meeting, does the chair need to leave the meeting in order to allow the vice chair to carry on? I'm just looking for clarity.
Claire, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just for clarity on your decision then, are you agreeing to appoint Councillor Giusti as chair of this committee following this meeting going forward? That's the decision.
Yes, that's
Thank
the
you.
decision. Sorry, Councillor Giusti, would you like to come in?
If there's an issue around this, I'm happy to take the chair and defer for a couple of hours until I'm able to get my notes and all that printed and get prepared.
I think because today is jam-packed with meetings for everyone, Councillor Giusti, that wouldn't be appropriate. So I'm happy to chair today and pass over to you at the end of the meeting to be the chair following on from that.
And obviously, Councillor Giusti, you're welcome to attend the meeting today. We can just only have one chair in the meeting at a time. Thank you.
Okay, so now we've got that cleared up, I'll move on. I would let you know at this point that this area committee is not being live streamed today, but has been recorded. and the recording will be available online shortly after the meeting is finished. Members may notice that when calling members to speak, I will refer to them formally and using their title, e.g. Councillor Smith, so that it is clear who the councillors are and who by process of elimination are officers. Remote participation, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you are not addressing the meeting. Write and speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. If you are in the hall, you can do this on your iPad or iPhone. Please don't repeat contributions already made by other members. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please either leave the meeting and write Teams for that period, and then join when you rejoin the meeting so that we can keep track of whether the meeting is correct. All members should speak clearly, taking their time and speaking directly into the microphone when making contributions. When referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions on areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative to a recommendation. This morning we have apologies from Max Euken, the Ward Youth Councillor for Mid Galloway and Wigtownshire West, and Susanna Kowalska, the Youth Councillor from Stranraer in the Rins, is in attendance. Welcome, Susanna. Moving to item 2, Sedrant apologies and Chair's approval of members' remote participation. Could I ask the Clerk, Claire Rogerson, for the Sedrant apologies and which members are in the room and those linking by Microsoft Teams? Please can I confirm my agreement to remote participation?
Okay, thank you. Chair, we've got 7 members present this morning. Those present on Teams are Councillors Jasper, Justy and Marsh. Councillor McCammon has advised that she'll join the meeting later. Remaining members all present in the room here at Newton Stewart. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do members have any statement of connection or declaration of interest to declared based on the definition, statement of connection? For transparency reasons, members may wish to make a public statement or a declaration of interest. Members would now be required to leave the meeting for that item. Over to you, members. No? Okay, we'll move on. Item 4, minutes of the previous meeting of the 1st of May 2024. Members are asked to note these minutes. Are we happy to note these minutes? Happy to note. Thank you. We'll move on to item 5, Scottish Fire and Rescue Service Wigtownshire Area Performance Report, the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024. The report by Head of Thriving Communities. Our first report, 6-month performance report from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, covering from the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024. I'm sure members will be reassured to read that overall the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service has performed well in key priority areas within Dumfries and Galloway during the period, and that this is reflected and is disaggregated data specific to Wigtownshire Area Committee. I'm particularly encouraged to read about the work of the Community Action Team and the creation of the new referrals pathway supporting our citizens most at risk. I'm also pleased to see the success of the Youth Volunteer Scheme, once again, and Operation Safety, which are educating and informing our young people, especially given the slight increase in the number of deliberate fires in the Wigtownshire area. Station Commander Derek Milligan is in attendance to answer any questions from members with Tony Reid. I'll open the floor to members, questions and comments. Thank you. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to come in on this one to start things off. First of all, just want to say thank you. I know I think I say this at every meeting, but the reports that you guys bring forward are really thorough and it's really appreciated. Certainly, I always find them really easy to read. There's so much. I think, we have got a really busy agenda on here, but we could spend at least an hour or so, talking through. I won't. Everybody will be relieved to hear, but I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate that this is a monitoring report for up until March 24, so it is historic. But I just wondered if there was any actions that had come out of any of the recent road accidents on the A75, just in terms of communications. Apologies, with your permission, Chair, I appreciate this. We're being asked to look at the issue on here, but I just wondered if there was any update, because I'm very aware that we have to work across partners with the police and with the local authority, and just in terms of communicating to the members of the public where there are diversions, etc. Has the fire and rescue service looked into a comms plan, just so that the communities know which areas to avoid when we are faced with really unfortunate accidents on some of our trunk roads? Thank you, with your indulgence.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. I'll hand over to Derek Milligan. Thank
Thanks, Councillor. I welcome some of the comments that you've made there with regards to the report. So it's quite pleasing for me that you're quite happy with the content of what's included. In terms of communications with regards to road diversions and areas to avoid, where there is a significant incident, we can implement a warn and inform mechanism which will communicate that message through social media, local media platforms, just to try and create that awareness for the local communities and ultimately to try and avoid the areas to prevent any further issues. Hope that answers your question.
Through you, Chair. It does. I appreciate, this doesn't all sit on the responsibility of fire and rescue, and I just think that we maybe need to have a little look at a multidisciplinary approach going forward, but appreciate the response there. And again, just to put my thanks on record, it's been an exceedingly busy time for all our rescue services, so just to put my thanks on record.
Thank you for that. Councillor Scobie?
Yeah, it's on the same point, and I've asked it continually at this meeting, and it's the A75, A77, part of the A77 still in our constituency. And it's, well, I'm sure you attend all the RTCs, and only today there's the road closed again, east of Newton Stewart, and that was, I think, almost every day last week. That's a 75, and we're faced with the same problems on the 77 and then diversionary routes. It's where do you take that information? Do you take it back to Scottish Government to say this is, the effect? Almost weekly we're finding RTCs and so forth, road closures. And, where does it go, that information? I say that because I met with a lobbying group for the A75, A77 last week, and it's an issue that doesn't appear in the local press, just how dangerous the A75, A77 is for people travelling. It's not the road, it's some people, getting frustrated behind the heavy vehicles, and they try to overtake and so forth. And I just wonder, do you take this to your senior personnel and then to Scottish Government? Because there's no doubt in my mind both roads need upgraded to dual carriageway standards. But if the Scottish Government, that's why I'm maybe listening in, if the Scottish Government actually realise just how bad in terms of RTCs and road closure and everything else, it may change their mind.
Thanks, Councillor Scobie. We certainly report on all incidents that we attend, and that information will be fed back at a national level. In terms of who monitors any kind of trend analysis in terms of where the accidents are actually happening, I couldn't confirm that. What I would say that in relation to excuse me, the incidents that we see in the area, Tony and his team are doing some great work in terms of road safety and the initiatives that we're trying to get that message out there and engage and educate people, ultimately to try and change some of those kind of driving attitudes and behaviours that you're mentioning there, like the frustration that goes along with slow moving traffic. But ultimately, to answer your question, it does get fed back in and it will go to a national level, but I would imagine that someone will do some form of trend analysis with it.
Tony Reid, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Scobie. So on the back of what Derek's saying there, we've got a local, the Freezing Galloway Road Safety Partnership, which involves loads of partners for the area, and we look at data that comes through various data systems to show the accidents, and sometimes doesn't really give the reason why, but a lot of people travelling through the area are not aware of the roads. So we're looking at the minute there's a process going out where we're putting road markings on the roads for a safer line for motorcyclists round the corner, so identifying the areas of hotspots across the area, and that's just one example of what the partnership can do, and that's working with the council, the roads department. So it's got to be identified. So many accidents at this area, then it gets identified, and then road markings can get put up, and that's what we're working on at the minute to assist and reduce the amount of accidents on the road.
Thank you for that, Councillor Scobie. Thank you for that, Councillor Scobie and Tony. What I will say is during the summer recess, I did go to Stranraer Harbour where the multidisciplinary teams and all the emergency services were there doing a training exercise, and it was phenomenal to see the rapport that all of these services have working together between themselves, and I'm sure it's not just at the harbours, it is on the roads, it is everywhere. So if you do get that opportunity as an elected member, please do go along to this, because it's amazing to see how they all fall into place when, you know, they're working together. It was brilliant. So congratulations on that. I also like to say the youth volunteer service is just phenomenal. I don't know if you have any updates, Tony, on how we're progressing with that. I think it's nearly coming to an end from my understanding, but it'd be great to hear all about that again. Thanks.
Yes, yeah, thank you. An update on it is obviously it's coming to its end next March. It's actually its 3-year succession plan, and it's be coming to its end at Stranraer. Where it moves on from there, I'm not sure. It might go to another station in the Freezing Galloway, which could benefit from the same as what we've done for the youths for the last 3 years. This year, we've had some youths nominated to go to the Cenotaph, to the Remembrance Parade, and obviously the service pays for that. And as a scheme, we have to finish the courses in the end of the year, a 3-year course. We've decided to take everybody that's involved in the scheme to London, and we are doing fundraising at the minute, and it's going pretty well. We've applied for funding, but we've got 8 youths. There'll be 7 marching in the Cenotaph, which is the first time ever, and we could have had 8, but the young person that doesn't want to do it, we can't force them to do it. Maybe too much on the event. So we're doing really well. We're going to have everybody down there for the 3 days, and it'll be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for the youths, and hopefully that's something that's came out of the scheme, and the work and the youth instructors have put in is in their own time. Just note that it is in their own time. So it's going really well, and we're doing fundraising at the minute. So that's the only update I can give you at the minute, but it's gone really well. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that update. So if anybody sees any fundraising pots, please feel generous and pop in. Councillor Ingalls, would you like to come in?
Thanks, yeah. Got a couple of questions. 3.8 on page 26. I'm assuming where it says sleeping risks, it's just people sleeping over the top of shops or garages, is that right? Or is there another explanation for that?
No, your sleeping risk would be classed as hospitals, care homes.
All right,
okay.
Okay.
There's large numbers of people sleeping.
Okay. On page 27, 3.11 under staffing, is this becoming a bit of a problem now, the early retirement and then having to recruit to cover that?
The retirement profile is probably somewhat more of a challenge for whole-time personnel in terms of being able to do that succession planning. For our on-call crews here, we're actually doing a reasonably good job of retaining people that are possibly at that kind of end of a close to retirement time. That's obviously just it's something that I need to factor in as the district station commander for how we continue to attract, retain and continue to recruit people. just to make sure that we can maintain that succession planning so that we're not lacking in any appliance availability.
Okay, and on page 28, it refers to local businesses and getting, retained firefighters to be able to be released from the businesses. Is that becoming more of a problem now than it used to be?
Yeah, I think when we look at the way employment has went within these types of areas where it is difficult for local employers to release some of their staff, it is quite challenging to recruit. One of the things that I'm quite keen to try and pilot, if you like, because I'm only just recently down into the area, I'm wanting to try and run some kind of employer open days. So we do quite a lot of good work in terms of open days and recruitment days for candidates. But I feel it would be beneficial to local employers to be able to give them some better information, let them see the type of challenges that might present having an employee that is aligned to an on-call station, but also to see some of the benefits that would come from that, because by joining the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, their staff would ultimately get transferable skills, whether that would be first aid or the such like. So that's something that I'm keen to try and introduce when the time's right.
Yeah, I can see how that could be a benefit, the transferable skills. Yeah. Okay, on page 30, it says currently neither wildfires nor flooding are recorded as separate incidents. Would it be difficult to separate those out, just to give an idea, of the difference between the two?
Currently, we don't really have a particularly streamlined way of differentiating. There's certain criteria for a wildfire to be deemed a wildfire. I have been made aware that there is a reporting system where that data is collated. It's not one that I've used locally, to be honest. But obviously in future it's something that we know is probably going to be more prevalent. So as and when a wildfire incident does occur, certainly within the region or the district, it will be something that will be able to be included within future reports.
I think it's just that being able to identify, if we've had 6 or 8 or 10 wildfires and 3 or 4 flooding incidents would be useful. Thanks.
Thank you for that. I think that's it for questions. Thank you very much for the report. I'll move to the recommendations. Members were asked to scrutinise the performance report for Wigtownshire from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Services for the period of the 1st of April 23 to the 31st of March 24 as detailed in the appendix. Are members happy to agree the recommendations? Thank you. Thank you very much for your attendance today. It's been a pleasure as always. Thanks. So moving on to item number 6, the 2023-2024 end of year assessment, the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024 of Roads and Infrastructure Service Plan 2023-2024. Report by Assistant Director of Transport and Infrastructure. It is pleasing to see that the inclusive park at Newton Stewart is in the final stages of completion. And it is also interesting to see where we are with the Loch Ryan Harbour revision order. Nicola Simpson is available to answer members and questions and comments. Any members got any questions, please? Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. So a few points on this report, which may be repeated on subsequent. I'm just conscious we have a new council structure and that new council plans are going through the service committees. I appreciate again that this is a historic report looking back, but perhaps maybe when it comes to recommendations, we are being asked to consider any aspects to be referred back to the relevant service committee. So I'll maybe come in at that point, if I may. In terms, a technical point, having been the former chair of the Harbours Committee, I am only too acutely aware of the frustrations in trying to get the Lochdown Harbour Revision Order complete. Appreciate we're almost there, we're in touching distance of it. The report in the appendix on page 69 has the progress at 95%, but we also have the next line of the status that it's on schedule, but yet the due date was the 31st of August. I think we just need to be really careful with these tables. I know we're almost there, but we're not. So to say that the status is on track is actually factually incorrect. So can we just ensure that that's reflected? I think perhaps we should have had an overdue on there, especially considering that was started in 2012. So, you know, that's no... It's no concern of, well, it is clearly a concern. It's not of the fault of particular officers because there's been such a staff turnover over the years. But can we just be really careful of that going forward? And certainly in terms of this item, I can't see it on the council's forward plan. I've gone through the forward plan. All the forward plans are up to date for Nithsdale, Annandale and Eskdale and Stewartry. There is nothing on there for Wigtown Area Committee, although there is a load of items with no committee attached to them. So I'm assuming by process of elimination that those are referenced to Wigtown Area Committee. And just again for future, can we ensure that the forward plan is kept up to speed? Because it's a really useful way for myself as a member, but also for the members of the public to know what are we taking forward as business within our area committee. So a couple of points in there. And if I can come back when we come to the recommendations on referring back to the service committee, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. If I can bring Nicola Simpson in to deal with some of those points, thanks.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. I'm afraid I can't really comment on that because that's really more to do with the structure of the reporting mechanism. But what I'll certainly do is I'll feed that back. And I think the reason it would still be saying on target is because this is up to the end of March. But I take on board Councillor Hagman's points about how long the project has been ongoing. So I'll certainly feed that back for future consideration.
Councillor Hagman, would you like to come back in?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but the due date is the 31st of August, so it just comes to, in terms of final drafts before they're published, it's just a, you know, I think somebody needs to take ownership of the papers and we need to ensure that they're actually correct and factually correct. If that was for the 31st of March, that should have been picked up on. And it is an admin point, but ultimately as members, we need to know who's overseeing the papers before they get published. And it's a small error, but we need to make sure that we're not pushing that information out. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. Councillor Giusti, would you like to come in?
Thanks, Chair. It was on a similar line to what Councillor Hagman was saying. When you look at the reporting end, which was the 31st of March, we've had a committee since the 31st of March, I'm pretty sure. These papers could have been in front of us, in May? Did we have our last meeting? They would have been much more relevant then. Also, it's interesting to see that the Lochdown Harbour Revision Order, its start date was April 2012. I know that Councillor Hagman and I will both know that it's been going on since 2017 when we first joined the council, but I hadn't realised that it had been going on since 2012. So I'm going to push to, as the Harbour as the Harbour Sub Chair, I'll push to see if we can get an update to members post haste about that 31st of August due date.
Thanks for that, Councillor Giusti. Can I just bring Claire Rogers in on that? Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm, the report today on the agenda is dated up to the 31st of March, so therefore your appendix will reflect that. point in time, and the timescale for presenting these reports is for the agreed arrangements for the council, so it's like 6 monthly performance reporting, I believe. And members will also be aware that there is a review of the area committee arrangements shortly to commence again or underway. So all this will be getting looked at. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hagman, would you like to come in again? Or would you like me to read the recommendations first?
If there's no other questions, I can come back
I can't
in.
see anybody with their hands up, so...
Thank you. So the recommendation 2.3 is asking us to consider and consider aspects of performance to be referred to the relevant service committee. It is really confusing, and I say this often. As elected members, if we're not sure, and we live and read this stuff every day, how on earth can members of the public pick up these documents and make head nor tail of it? We're being asked to look at the end of year, and it's a historic report, but yet the due dates are for August 24. So, you know, the dates don't align up. We do have a new council structure, and appreciate that this referred to the previous council structure. So my additional request on this would be that to the next area committee, we receive a report from the Executive Director, or, and let me get the title right, the Assistant Director for Transport and Infrastructure, with key areas they're looking to seek input from the area committee and what KPIs will be brought forward, noting that we have got new service plans that are going through the new committee structure. So I think it would just be really important for our next committee on the 6th of November, a report back, so we're really clear what our roles and remits are within the area committee.
Bring Claire Rogers in there, thanks.
I wouldn't want to cut across any process that's already underway or about to be underway, but there will be a review of the area committee remit, arrangements, what reports you get, and all of that, and reports. I think there's been agreement that area committees will have the opportunity to feed into that with reports brought to area committee. So yes, that all will come. Thank you.
Councillor Hagman, if you'd like to come back in.
Thank you. So yesterday, the Service Committee agreed a new plan for 24-25, which was presented on behalf of the Assistant Director for Transport and Infrastructure. That was agreed at committee yesterday. But so my request is, following that committee decision yesterday, can we please get a report to the next committee of what will be reported to the area committee? Because although there was monitoring agreed within that, and some of it was marked local, and some of it was marked for D&G, and some of it was marked for external, it would be useful as for members of the area committee to know what our remit is based on the service plan that was agreed yesterday at committee.
I'll bring Claire in again from governance, because I don't sit on the committee that was on yesterday, so I'm quite unsure of what's been said here. But I'll bring Claire in to clarify and see if we can put a point in there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Well, this committee can certainly make that request of what will be reported locally. So yes, you could add that in. But yeah, just to also make you aware that the delegations and remit are all being reviewed.
So would you like that added in as a 2.4 or added on to the end of 2.3?
Let's keep it separate to not muddy the issue. 2.4, please.
Okay, so we'll go to the recommendations. So members are asked to 2.1, review the 2023-24 12-month summary performance for the Wigtown area for April 2023 to 31st of March 2024 as set out in paragraphs 4.3 and 4.4 in the appendix. 2, consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report, paragraph 4.5.1 to 4.5.2. And 3, consider any aspects of performance to be referred to the relevant service committee. And we're going to add in 4, further report around what will be reported to area committee in the future. Are we happy with that?
Following the agreed service plans.
Following the agreed service plans. Are members all happy with those recommendations? Thank you. So we'll move on to item 7, the 2023 to 24 end of year assessment, the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024 of Neighbourhood Services Service Plan 2023 to 2024, report by the Head of Thriving Communities. We now turn to the annual assessment for Neighbourhood Services for their plan 2023-2024. It is encouraging to see that the total number of attendances at Wigtownshire swimming pools and indoor sports facilities has increased significantly over the reporting period, and that our customer services centres are working in a variety of ways to provide services and activities to local people. It is also important to understand that vital services are being delivered by our financial wellbeing and revenues team, and the assistance they provide to some of our most vulnerable customers and families. Harry Hay is available to answer members' questions if we have any, and I'll just start off with one. With the new structure of the council, I'd like to have a bit more understanding over where the libraries sit, and ask the question of whether we've got any further with the libraries potentially being open one evening a week to allow working families and children to access the services. I have mentioned this before within committees, and I know it was made out that the schools would be opening, but as far as I'm aware, this isn't happening, and I feel quite strongly on this issue, so I'd like a bit more clarity, please. Thanks. Harry, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yep, so libraries and wider customer services now sit under the Customer Enabling Services Directorate. So the head of service is Mike Shepley, and I know that their service plan is being considered by their service committee later this month. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Harry. Could I bring in, first of all, Councillor Dashper?
Thanks, Chair. Good morning. I'm looking at page 79, at our success measures. I'm looking at satisfaction levels within our customer service centres. Last year, in the last year, we had a rating of 96.4% across our customer service centres, and now it's down to 74.6% in Wigtown and 70.58% region-wide. I think that's really quite significant. Do we know why people are less satisfied, and how are we measuring this data? What are they telling us? Thanks.
Through you, Chair. So this is directly related to the local government benchmarking framework, and as happens throughout Scotland, there is a sample of service users taken in each local authority area. So it's not something that the council is directly involved with. We are simply given the statistics from the LGBF. Over and above this, we carry out our own customer satisfaction surveys as and when required within specific sites. So there certainly doesn't appear to be any specific issue that has resulted in satisfaction reducing. I think, as always with a sample, it very much depends on who's asked in what particular area on what particular day. But certainly benchmarking in the widest sense, it's certainly something that came up at our service committee a couple of weeks ago. Is something that we're very keen to ensure is more focused on our particular services and done in a bit more of a consistent manner. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you for that. Can I bring in Councillor Hagman?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Harry, for the report. just a sort of comment, really. There's not necessarily consistency within all these reports. These are end-of-year performance, and this has got the previous year's data for us to compare. The previous report that we've considered only had this year's. It would be useful just to feed back to the centre, can we get some consistencies? But I appreciate that may well be looking at through the review. In terms of my question, page 79, can I ask, the second point on there is number of visits or usage of customer service centres within Wigtown. Is that within Wigtown Shire, or are we talking about the Royal Borough of Wigtown? I'm assuming it's in Wigtown Shire, because otherwise, where's the data for Newton Stewart, for Stranraer, for Port William, etc. And also, our target is only at 32,844, which seems quite a unique number. It was the same target the previous year. We overreached that target the previous year, and we've significantly reached over that target, which actually goes to show how much our communities value that opportunity to physically attend. And I just would maybe look for some reassurance that the fact that we're not quite, but we're almost doubling the expected visitors, is that being taken into account when planning future provisions across our community? Because while it is absolutely crucial that we develop digital opportunities, clearly there is a demand and requirement for in-person opportunities as well. So just really on that point, it'd be useful to hear what the plan is going forward to ensure that nobody's left behind and that there's no exclusion for people that might want to attend in person.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. Harry, would you like to come in with any comments, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, first question, the stats are specific to Ward 1 and Ward 2, so the area that falls under this area committee's remit. In terms of the customer service centre attendances and the future targets, so this financial year's targets beyond, that will also be getting addressed at the service committee later this month, when the new customer and enabling services service plan is considered. I've certainly discussed it with the head of service, that it's important that there are area specific targets based on historical performance, and I agree that certainly in a rural area such as Dumfries and Galloway, a number of channels are critical, including face-to-face as well as digital. And I think it's all about giving people choice, particularly those vulnerable residents who may, for whatever reason, not be able to access digital services. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hagman. You'd like to come back in on that?
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Harry. I think, just to come back on we set these targets and then the value actually, perhaps outstrips what we're expecting. And it's just to ensure that we can be flexible in our approaches. And over the page on page 80 is a prime example of this. And it's the number of looked after children and care leavers gaining free access to leisure and sports facility. Our target was 480. That value is 2,619. I think there has to be a huge recognition of the incredible work that our teams are doing in terms of supporting our young people and care leavers and looked after children, but it's to ensure that we're actually properly financing, properly resourcing these key services that are clearly hugely valued and absolutely necessary. So I appreciate that the service plans will be still to be presented to committee. And just similar to the previous item, it would be useful, once those service plans are complete, for a report to come back to the area committee to ensure that we know what input you're requiring from the area committee and how we can best support the plans going forward.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. Harry, do you have any comments, or can we move on to Councillor Scorby's questions?
Nothing further to add, thanks, Chair, on that particular point.
Thank you. We'll move on to Councillor Scorby.
Yeah, Chair, it's always interesting to hear customer satisfaction and how we can improve this. And I'm looking at the customer service centres. And I know I speak on the Stranraer one, and how busy it is in terms of people using it. And when I think back to what libraries used to be, there were the quiet places you went in and you had to be very quiet in your whole approach to library facilities. So we have definitely moved in the right direction in terms of customer services and the centres, and only hope we can improve on customer satisfaction. The work that these centres put in, I'm speaking in behalf of Stranraer, is phenomenal. You know, taking the periods and only last week I was looking at one of the staff that was actually working on Halloween, which is just round the corner. So it's amazing how they attract, and indeed they put on concerts, events, which is just completely different to what, as I said, the libraries used to be. I'm looking at this report and seeing all the things and how we're doing well in the various aspects, Ryan Centre, Amazing Summer and so forth. But there's one in my mind that's missing, and that's the Castle of St John's. That again, that and the museum in Stranraer are a big attraction to day visitors, tourists and so forth. And we've managed to get the museum fully open now. It wasn't for a while there, it was only partially open, and we've got that one open. But I go back to the Castle of St John, where for the last 3 years, I believe, they've been reporting a step that has been needing repair, and it's got to the stage now where the gallery at the top, which is the main attraction, or one of the main attractions to the castle, is prohibited, it's excluded from anyone getting access, and that's 3 years. We need to get a report back as to when that step will be repaired, and that the castle will be fully operative and open to the public. And I know, Harry, you've been involved with that alongside myself, and we really need that to be repaired over the winter months so that it's fully open come next year. I'm looking at this report, and I heard Katie speak there on properly financed and resourced, when only yesterday, and again we'll get a further announcement today, 500 million of public service cuts could be coming our way. And the libraries in some of these places are all with the soft belly for cuts and closures and everything else. I hope that we will resist any attempt to close libraries. I know it's been spoken of, or what is being referred to now as the customer service centres, under all these cuts that are coming before us. On yesterday's announcement, and again a further announcement today. So if we do value them, and as Katie says, if we've got to properly finance and resource them, then we should be resisting these cuts that could be coming our way. Purely a comment, Chair.
Thank you for that, Councillor Scobie. Councillor Hagman, would you like to come back in? No?
I'm happy to come back in. I mean, if we're going to talk about national positions, which I'm happy to make a comment on, I would put down a statement of connection because I am the resources spokesperson for COSLA and local government. But certainly pre-parliamentary evidence has been submitted. There's a huge input, and certainly across local government leaders are very clear that the preventative measures that local authorities can put in place should absolutely be resourced properly, and certainly that's an argument that's being made nationally. And certainly whenever I'm speaking in my national role, I'm the very first to comment and commend our staff who are on the front line of our communities. As elected members within councils, we are holding our communities right close to our hearts, essentially, and we're the first line of support within those. So I will absolutely ensure that the sentiments that Councillor Scobie has referenced will go forward in the narratives when I take forward my national role. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. Councillor Scobie, would you like to come
I
back
didn't get
in?
my question answered in terms of the castle. When will we see this repaired, or when will we get the assurance? And Harry's with us today, so that it's on record, minuted and so forth, that we have that there. And on the point that Katie makes, and I'm pleased to hear her say that she will defend and praise the staff. I only wish we could see that in their pay packets, and that they're properly rewarded and valued for the services they do provide. So it's on the castle, some assurance that that will be complete during the winter months and fully reopened next year.
Thank you for that, Councillor Scobie. I'll refer over to Harry Hay for a response. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, so Castle of St John in Stranraer, as Councillor Scobie mentions, one of the key features of it is the top section that provides that wonderful view over the whole of Stranraer and beyond. And due to the nature of the building, it's clearly an extremely old heritage building. There has been an issue identified in terms of the stop step that has been very recently risk assessed as needing some major works done to it. We did try and ensure that the top section could still be used despite that damage, but it was confirmed that unfortunately that wasn't the case. I'm assured by Property and Estates that the necessary capital funding to undertake the repair is being secured, and to carry out these essential works, the whole facility would require to be closed. So hence why it was thought better to do it in the winter season, and I am awaiting a start date, but I have been assured that the work is intended to get done during the normal close season with a view to being reopened in 2025. Hopefully that provides the assurance required, and I'm happy to circulate something to members just to confirm that once I've spoken to Property and Estates. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Harry. I think, yeah, confirmation of that would be good, and also when the work does start, an update so that we know that it is getting done would be great. Would you agree with that, Councillor Scobie?
Yeah, Chair, there was reference made earlier by Claire that we've been reviewing area committees for I don't know how long now in terms of the business that comes before us. Now, I'm raising this here today when, you know, it's a feature in Stranraer that's very popular, yet this is the first that we've been hearing, you know, or me bringing it to the attention of the committee, when I'm quite sure we're all sitting here and had someone not alerted me to this fact, I would never have known. It's what are we being told and what is relevant for this committee to consider when that is a main feature of Stranraer for tourism and everything else. So it's business that is relevant that we are able to discuss. And we're looking here and we're going through these, and as has been said before, they're dated, they're 6 months out of date. And we're spending a full half morning. If we're lucky, yeah, and unless they're updated, I can't see the usefulness of them at all as area committees.
I'll just come in there. I think I did hear Governance Claire say that there would be a review of Wigtown Area Committee and members could link into it. And I think this is really important that members do get the opportunity to link in so that we can talk about localised things rather than out-of-date reports, like you say, Councillor Scobie. So if we could have that recommendation taken forward, that noted. Thanks.
And just thank Harry for it, you know, that he is going to confirm the actual dates.
Yeah, just to confirm, just to give the assurance, I'm taking a note of the comments made and pass those back. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I can't see any other members wanting to speak, so I'll move to the recommendations. Members are asked to 1. Review the 2023-24 12-month summary performance for the Wigtown area for the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 24, as set out in paragraphs 4.3 and 4.4 in the appendix. 2. Consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report at paragraph 4.51 and 4.59. And 3, consider any aspect of performance to be referred to the relevant service committee. And we're going to add in 4 there, like we did on the previous agenda item, further report about what will be present to area committee in the future following the agreed service plans. Are members happy to agree those recommendations? Thank you, members. We'll move on to item 8, the 2023-24 end of year assessment, the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, of Governance and Assurance Service Plan. The report by Assistant Director, Governance and Human Resources. Item number 8 on our agenda is the Annual Assessment for Governance and Assurance Service Plan for 2023-2024. Key features are around establishment of the Curator ad limit scheme, the review of polling stations places and the refresh of the corporate resilience and business continuity arrangements. And it is encouraging to read that the Community Protection Retailer Pricing Project is protecting consumers. Jackie Holland is available to answer members' questions if we have any questions or comments. Councillor McCammon.
Yes, thanks, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Apologies for being late again. Jackie, hi, hope you're well. Page 82, 4.5.2. I'm not sure if you will know the answer to this question, but I'd appreciate it if you could take it back to the person that will, please. So it's just with regards to exactly that, the review of the polling stations places. And I know it was all agreed by members ward by ward and discussed in briefings. But I've had feedback since then that the closure of, for example, Glentrool polling station, that was never ever communicated to the public or to the residents, certainly in Glentrool. Now, I don't know what the process or the procedure was there. I would like to think that we did and someone was just missed, unfortunately. Could you possibly find out, if you don't already know, Jackie, please, and what the process is of letting residents know in plenty of time? Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Hagman. If I could bring Jackie in, thank you. Sorry, Councillor McCammon. It's because I'm looking at you, Kate. Thank you.
Yes, I apologise. Thanks, Councillor McCammon. I don't have the answers to that, but I'll definitely take that back and come back to you.
Are you happy with that, Councillor McCammon?
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Hagman, would you like to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's in part a supplementary to Councillor McCammon's question. So on the same point, the review of the polling places, again, you know, we're noting this is a historic report. However, we have had a general election since that review took place, and it's to ask what feedback will be taken, or has there been any learning from that? So I appreciate that Councillor McCammon has asked about the notification, but we also had New Luce and we also had Carsleuth, which residents were being asked to vote in a different area. Certainly it was brought up at Cree Valley Community Council as to how would we know if voters had been disenfranchised at all by the new procedures. So again, I would ask that if Jackie's going back with a piece of work to include that in the remit as well, because I think it is important. We have done a review and we're noting that, but will we get a report back? Because especially across the Mackers, you know, there are significant pots and areas, and you know there were some residents really unhappy with the arrangements going forward. My other question I wanted to ask was in reference to the establishment of a port health unit. Now, I appreciate that, well, I'll try and not get too political, but certainly Scotland voted to remain within the EU and we were taken out of that. As a result, my understanding was that there was to be the establishment of a port health unit. There was concerns because although the Northern Ireland as part of the UK, they were allowed to stay within the EU for trading, and it all became quite complex, and different rules were applied to different parts of the United Kingdom, which in itself is baffling, but we are where we are. The establishment of a Port Health unit is on here. It was due on the 31st of March, or it will be due 25. The progress is at 28%, but the status is paused. Can I ask what the reasonings for that pause is? Because there's nothing, as far as I can see, although apologies if I've missed it, I can't see anything in the report that gives a rationale for that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. I'll pass you over to Jackie again.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Hagman. On the additional points that you want me to come back to relating to the closure of the voting stations, polling stations, I'll come back to you on that as well. In respect of the Port Health project, my understanding is that there's nothing we can do at the moment. It's sitting with the UK government, and therefore we have to pause it while we wait for that outcome.
Thank you. Are you happy with that, Councillor Hagman? Would you like to come back in?
Not sure happy is the correct word, but I'm okay to note the comments. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Councillor McCammon, you still have your hand up. Is it a legacy hand, or would you like to come back in?
No legacy, sorry, Chair.
No, that's fine. Do we have any other questions from members? No. So we'll move to the recommendations. Members are asked to 1. Review the 2023-24 12-month summary performance for Wigtown area for the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024 as set out in paragraphs 4.3 and 4.4 at the appendix. Point 2, consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report at paragraphs 4.51 and 4.55. And 3, consider any aspects of performance to be referred to the relevant service committee. And would you like point 4 putting in on that one as well?
Yes, please, Chair.
Yeah, so we'll put a point 4 in, and further report will be a further report about what will be presented to area committee in the future following the agreed service plans. Are members happy to approve and agree those? Yep. Thanks very much, members. We'll move on to item number 9, the 2023-2024 end-of-year assessment, the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024 of Community Services Service Plan 23-24, report by Head of Thriving Communities. We now turn to the final performance report for the annual assessment of the Community Service Plan 23-24. As always, this report covers a range of services and projects that are vital to helping our communities prosper and thrive. I'm pleased to see that the indicators are all on track with no exceptions, and I am also delighted to welcome Billy Jones of Glentrool and Bargrennan Community Trust, who has joined us this morning to share their experience of being able to access the Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Budget Small Grant Scheme in 23-24. This helped them to continue running their warm hub for their residents. Thank you, Billy. Would you like to come in now and give your presentation?
Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me along this morning. Glentrool and Bargrennan Community Trust ran a trial warm hub project through October, November, December, January over 22 and 23. Through that trial, we were able to sort of accurately gauge the fuel consumption and costs that, of providing this to our community, and also to establish the sustainability of the warm hub project going into 23-24. Glentrool and Bargrennan are isolated communities. They're also isolated from the regular sort of social activities that we have in nearby towns like Newton Stewart. Residents are at a real disadvantage to avail of similar projects, mainly due to the cost and lack of regular public transportation. So what we initially set out to do was to sort of initiate an open door policy warm hub project. But we found that left residents quite sort of scattered in their sort of inclusion in that project. It didn't really give them a focus to attend any events. So we did open for longer hours, for more days as well. And we then advertised specific events, and that included coffee mornings, a knit and natter group, evening events such as indoor bowls. We had social gatherings in the evening as well. And due to, I mean, the cost of oil was sort of, it changed as we put in the application, so we had a little bit left over. We had about £85 left over. So we put that towards providing community lunches for our community as well. So that was offered once a month. We encouraged residents, specifically those that lived alone and were particularly isolated, to come down and avail of some soup and sandwiches. And we were also able to provide that as a takeaway service as well. That included the volunteers in the community. So yeah, the Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Fund really enabled us to be able to do this. We did receive a huge amount of grant funding for a capital project at the Hive, but we needed the time to sort of establish a sustainable income stream, and that's mainly through our craft shop and our self-catering accommodation. But within those first 2 years, that was really sort of reinvested back into the project and staffing costs, heating, electric, telephone, broadband, you name it. So without that fund, we really wouldn't have been able to provide that for our community over the winter. It would have eaten in far too much of our unrestricted funds that we really needed to sort of safeguard for the years to come, to make sure we would still be open for our community regularly. But yeah, it's been a huge success. We have just under 100 residents in Glentrool altogether, in the sort of Glentrool and Burgrennan area. We saw over 50% of our residents attend at least one event per week. We also saw 12 people out with our community, namely from Bar Hill and Newton Stewart, come and participate in those events as well. And due to the popularity of them, we've continued them through the year. Especially the coffee morning and the knit and natter is very popular. We see up to 25 people attend those every week. We've got a few comments from people that wanted me just to say. One person said the project supports isolated people in the community. Another said an excellent project combating both social isolation and rural poverty. And one person said it helps me stay in touch with people I don't see often. So we've found this fund to be hugely beneficial to our community. And yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Billy. It sounds like it really has been a triumph in your community, and it's hit the nail on the head and done exactly what the fund is supposed to achieve in helping those vulnerable people. Would any members like to come in? Thank you. Councillor Scobie.
Yeah, Billy, and that's great to hear. I just wondered if you could bottle your success in terms of how you get the community, and you referred there to 50% attending things in other communities. We seem to have them at loggerheads as soon as we talk about transfer or management of halls and everything, and it puts community against community. So I ask again, could you bottle that success so we can maybe put it through it and roll that out through the whole of the area, so we can get communities pulling together rather than pulling against when there's successful projects as you've just outlined.
Thank you for that, Councillor Scobie. Councillor Hagman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, thank you, Billy, for that. And I think, one of my regrets as an elected member is I don't get along to the events. You're very good at informing the ward members that these activities are happening. And certainly I would like to come along and just see for myself. And, it is important. I think the comments that Councillor Scobie made there about how do we bottle that, I know that obviously there is a resource that is being utilised, and actually I guess my question maybe is a wider one of, have the council come to you to ask what is working well, what support would be helpful going forward, because, you know, while we do have some incredible volunteers across our region, you know, there is a resource that has been put into the Hive, and that is being, you know, utilised fantastically. I think if we look at the social value of all the inputs that are going in versus what we're getting out, I think that is one of the issues, and sadly it does come down to funding. So I guess it's a sort of a joint question for yourself, if you'd be willing to assist with officials, and if officials are looking as to where we have got these key areas of success, how can we replicate them across the community? But no, I just want to say thank you so much. I would like to come back in on the wider report, and one of the points that I wanted to come back to is when we agreed both the discretionary budget and the poverty and inequalities budgets, one of the points that we made for next year is, as funding is getting more diminished, we perhaps maybe need to use, and I used the word more radical about how we utilise that funding. And I guess my question would be to you, would you be willing to feed back to help us how we can ensure that the small amount of funding that we do have the ability to give out can be best utilised? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Hagman. Billy, would you like to come back in?
Yes, absolutely. We'd be more than happy to help. I would say that whilst we haven't been approached by the council specifically, sort of to give feedback, we have been approached separately by other community groups as far away as Moffat, Bar, Girvan. They have all paid a visit to us at some point just to have a tour of the facility and see what our projects are and how we came about making them successful. So yeah, we'd be more than happy to help the council with that.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Billy. And yeah, the establishment is great. I've been across a few times now in a public capacity, and also as Vice Chair of Area Committee, and it is a phenomenal development, and lots of things do go on there. So thank you for your hard work and your volunteers as well. We'll move on to any other questions. So we'll start off with Councillor Ingalls. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just to sort of echo what's been said, Billy, about what you're doing up at Glentrool. Fabulous project, you know, and that collaborative working is really important, and it's how we get third sector organisations to sit down and talk to one another about what they've done and how they've done it, and avoid the mistakes that other people are making. So it's, yeah, fabulous. I think you've done really well up there. Thanks, Billy.
Councillor Scobie, I saw your hand go up, and then Councillor Hagman.
Yeah, it's in the general report, Chair, and it's around the place plans, and while we're recognising 3 there are the 5 places that we identified as a council, there are others shooting up all over the place, and I hope they will be encouraged. I attended the Kirkmaiden area place plan in Port Logan on Saturday, and there was a fair turnout, just looking at it, seeing what the communities are thinking of in terms of their vision for the future. But one of the questions that kept repeating was, where does the place plan fit into the local development plan, of which we're moving into LDP 3? And I think we need some indication so that the community can pick up in terms of anything that they are doing, how it does fit in to the local development plan, and where do the two fit, as was put to me. Do they conjoin, or is one superior to the other? And I think in essence they both link in, whatever the communities are saying. And one of the issues come up, and we've experienced it, is we've got LDP 2, for instance, that identifies so many houses in an area, when sometimes the communities don't tie into the numbers. And I think somebody referred to Drumore having 50 houses, and is the council going to build 50 houses? Well, that's not what it's about. But how does the community tie into that? So we need some explanation how place plans then dovetail into the local development plan. So if someone could take that away and provide communities with that link up.
I'll pass you over to Ingrid Gemmell for this, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and I'm hoping I'm okay coming in on this, Harry. But just to say that absolutely when we're working with communities around local place plans, we are working with colleagues within planning and the local development plan 3 as it will be as it's developed. Certainly these local place plans will be considered when LDP 3 is being taken forward and considered. So that's absolutely how this works out. We've also had our planning colleagues out and about in communities to talk about LDP3, where we've been out and supported those conversations as well. So, you know, there is active action in terms of making sure that communities are aware about what's happening, and also those conversations we're having on an ongoing basis with communities around local development plans. So I hope that provides a bit of assurance.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Scobie?
Yeah, and I'm just wondering how we can build it into so that we recognise and that we make that a function, that where the place plans are going ahead, that we do have planning and the various officers there that can assist in the development of the place plan, but also to tie in with the LDP3, because it's one of the big things that each time we get very few folk engaging in the local development plan, when here's an opportunity that we can utilise.
Yeah, through yourself, Chair, just to kind of reassure members that when that LDP plan is being developed, then any local place plan that has been developed and agreed has to be taken into consideration when those plans are being finalised. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Ingrid. Councillor Hagman, would you like to come in?
Thanks again, Chair. Yes, so there's lots in this report which is really positive, and I think we do need to commend the teams. I think first of all I would like to congratulate the team that are involved with the community assets transfers that have been shortlisted for the National COSLA Excellence Awards, and I want to wish them the very best of luck. I think the fact that having heard from Billy from the Hive, which is as a result of an asset transfer that the community are going forward, just shows how positive this piece of legislation of empowering our communities is going forward. So I just want to wish the team the very best of luck and congratulate them. Just on the back of that, and I've raised it with Billy there, and it would be useful to sort of feedback or get a report back rather than waiting until March next year when we have a seminar, when we're trying to work out how we're going to do with the discretionary budget or poverty inequalities, of how we can actually make best use of the small amounts of funding we've got. How we talked about it, as I said previously. Let's think radically about this, and I don't necessarily have the answers, but I would really like us to start thinking about this now rather than waiting, and maybe for that to be fed back in to the council structure when this goes through the service committees, because I think we really need to ensure that we're utilising our funds as best way possible and not just do the same thing we've done every year because it's easy, but also as elected members, we don't want to be the individuals that are seen to be taking away from one organisation to give to another. So if all that could be looked at in the round and come back, maybe not to the next committee, but certainly prior to March, I think that would be really welcomed. In terms of the report, I think I'll say from the outset, if we can add the additional recommendation about how this fits in, because we've got on page 95, helping the communities with their place plans, but we've also got in the next item under a different directorate about how we're taking forward borderland place plans. So already we're across 2 different directorates, which is slightly confusing. We agreed yesterday for the Newton Stewart and also for the Wigtown and Bladnoch place planning to go into the LDP3 and be formally adopted by council, and certainly I commended the volunteers, and again on record I think it's really important for the Wigtown Area Committee that we acknowledge our local teams who've been working on that. And my final point is really just to note the incredible work that is being done locally. When you look at the targets that we're looking at on page 90, well, it's from 96 onwards with that the table 96 to 98, we are exceeding our targets consistently, and within the 2 years, that is a case. And much of this is to do with the participation of youth work and lifelong learning. I think it would be remiss, since this is the first meeting that we've had since June. Well, our last meeting was back in May, and we do have Laura here in the room today, who was awarded a national recognition for her work for youth work. So I think it would be really important to put our congratulations from the Area Committee. And I will get emotional because Laura does incredible work. And thank you, Laura.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. I think we all feel exactly the same about the hard work that Laura Kilty as a youth worker does, and how she works so well and gets her team motivated and all the young people across the region. So yeah, congratulations once again, Laura. I know we have seen you. What I would like to pick up on there, Councillor Hagman, you did state about the community asset transfers and how wonderful the teamwork. I think on the back of that, we need to also congratulate the volunteers within our communities that put these applications forward for community asset transfers, because they are asked by the council to do an awful lot of work get a contract with these buildings, and the consultations being one of them, and the consultations they do need to be robust. So, you know, we need to look at how these organisations, being volunteers, perform such tasks and do such wonderful consultations within their communities, and maybe take a note of that as a council and work towards making sure that any consultations we're doing are on par with those. So, thank you. I'll now move to the recommendations. And so members are asked to, 1, review the 2023-24 12-month summary performance for the Wigtown area for the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, as set out in paragraphs 4.3 and 4.4 in appendix. 2, consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report at paragraphs 4.5.1 and 4.5.7. 3, consider any aspects of performance to be referred to Education and Skills and Community Wellbeing Committee. And 4, further report about what will be presented to Area Committee in the future following the agreed service plans. Are we happy to agree, those members? Agreed. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 10, Economy and Development End-of-Year Assessment for the Business Plans 2019 to 2023 performance. April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, report by Executive Director, Economy and Infrastructure. Our next performance report is the Economy and Development. This report covers performance from the 1st of April 2024 to the 31st of March, the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024. As always, this report covers a range of services and projects that are vital in helping our communities. There is a great deal of detail here that members will be very interested in: the local place plans and border place plans, Stranraer Marina expansion, the redevelopment of the former George Hotel, Stranraer Water Sports Hub, Stranraer Conservation Area Regeneration Scheme, the local housing strategy, core and coastal paths, signage and local nature reserves. I'm sure that members will have questions and comments, so I'll open the floor right away, and Simon Fieldhouse and Kerry Monteith are available online to answer any questions from members. Councillor Scobie, we'll go with you first. Thanks.
Yeah, there's a number of areas in here that you just referred to. Take it one by one, Chair. Yeah. And I'll go through these. The Stranraer Marine expansion, and in here we're talking about developing the full business case to be advanced during 24-25. What I would like to see, brought back to this committee is an indication of when the commencement date is going to be for the marina, recognising that the full business case is being worked on. People's aspirations and hopes are that it will, and it's been indicated it will start in 2025. We need some indication that that target date is still you know, live, and that they will commence in 2025. It's been spoken of, you know, well, there's land to be examined and tested and everything. We've been through so many different tests in that marina, or Lena Harbour. It's unbelievable. But I think we need some assurance that that date is still on target, and the marina will commence on that date. Just turning the page to what you referred to, the former George Hotel, and I get a sense of deja vu. We only spent a full half day on briefing notes. And the briefing, this narrative doesn't reflect the briefing note. But again, milestones. We should know how the project is developing, that we're not being told. When I asked this question, I think they said, well, it's when the building's up and constructed, it's the next milestone. Yet we heard on Friday that the project board get a monthly update, and yet we're not getting that. And it's not just that we're not getting it, neither are the people of Stranraer. And there's a lot of activity. I noticed that the steelwork is up, yet that wasn't in as a milestone, when in my opinion that should have been one of the milestones, and the people can recognise. All this, they're trying to look through a wall to see what's going on behind it, when we have eventually got the screen, the video that loops, yet we can put so much information on that for the people to see just how far we are developing with this. But it's like everybody's kept in the dark, you know, almost as if we'll be the mushroom syndrome. We have to guess what's happening. So that's again, milestones, timelines, so that we can see how, you know, and more importantly, the people of Stranraer and others that come about the place can see just how it's developing. That's essential, and we made that point on Friday when Davey and I attended. I note here, you know, and it's good to see that we have completed the arches through the car scheme, partially granting to assist there. So that's good. We'd move on, Chair, to page 105, and that's the Rinsa-Galloway coastal pathway. Again, it's one of the ones that is highlighted, and it goes back, I don't know if Harry's still on line, but that was one of the huge features, that we were going to have the Rins coastal pathway all around the Rins, and it was going to be a major feature. It requires a lot of work on it, and it requires a constant cutbacks or the undergrowth and so forth. And we need, it was referred to earlier by Katie, we need resources applied to this if it's going to be a major attraction. And one of the things that Maiden through the kind of Oak Access or something, in September, they're going to do a trail run for Sandhead to Stranraer on the same weekend as the Oyster Festival, which will be a major attraction. But what they're going to do in 2025 is have a marathon, 25 mile, 26 mile, from the Mull of Galloway all the way into Stranraer. And this is something that was pre-COVID days, and they're going to bring it back. And that will be the most southerly marathon in the whole of Scotland. What an attraction. But, and I'm sure Simon can speak on this, Jonathan Barrett, who's putting, and Brian Scott has been putting in a tremendous amount of work to make sure that the 10K can be run this year from Sandhead, but the ambition is to have the coastal pathway ready, that we can run this 25-mile marathon for the Mull of Galloway. And we need to be assured from Simon that this is going to be possible, and that the resources that are required that we can put into it to make sure that people can run this trail run. It's different for a marathon. as I found out. But you still need some of the undergrowth cut back so that people can run, walk and so forth. Major attraction for the whole of Wigtownshire. Those are my points, Chair, and if we could maybe get some assurances on each of them.
Thank you for that, Councillor Scobie. I'll bring in Simon to respond to those. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take the last point first, and then I might refer to colleagues who are on the call to assist, obviously, with regard to sort of the milestones around the George and also sort of the marina expansion. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Scobie. Just to confirm, obviously, that we are looking, obviously, at what resources we've got. We're looking, obviously, not just at our own resources, but resources within the community to assist, obviously, the vegetation clearance and cutting to ensure, obviously, that the coastal run can go ahead this year. I'm aware, as you say, that obviously Brian and Jonathan have put an awful lot of work into this. We've also got a new access officer, Robbie Cowan, who started. So obviously we are looking at obviously our resources, trying to align those as best as possible to give you that reassurance that the vegetation will be cut back and things will be cleared to assist obviously not just the run this year, but obviously the route for next year in terms of the wider marathon. So hopefully sort of that will provide a bit of degree of comfort. Obviously, we've had the coastal or the footpaths across sort of the region. Core paths actually started in the west of the region in terms of cuts this year. Normally they start in the east, but we've obviously spun that round to obviously get things cut in the west first. And obviously we've got a sort of a vegetation cutting contract in place for next year to assist with these things as well. And we're obviously just looking at additional capacity to make sure we can take these things forward. If I could defer to my colleague Melissa or Kerry, who are online, just to obviously help, obviously, with the marina and the George Hotel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. If I may respond to the points that were raised in connection with the other two projects. First of all, I'll talk about the George, and then I'll hand over to my colleague Lauren Steele, who can walk you through the marina project. So in terms of the George, yes, we do have a project schedule, and within that project schedule there are milestones, and they are tracked by a project board on a regular basis. What we also do is we report within the council to an oversight group on quarterly progress. So we track quarterly progress against milestones, and we share that information in terms of progress against milestones in the project briefing. However, I do accept Councillor Scobie's point that that's probably not sufficiently detailed or clear enough. So I think that that's something that we need to now rectify. I think there's another point that, if I may, Chair, that Councillor Scobie raised, which probably leads to the larger issue about communications. And I think that what we need to do is review our communications plan for the project and address some of the issues that Councillor Scobie has highlighted, very valid issues in terms of communicating information to the public, so that the public are aware and understanding what is actually happening with the project on site, what the big headline milestones are and the progress that we're making towards those. So if I may, I'd like to give that undertaking to update the comms plan so that we can address those issues and obviously bring further updates on that to members. If I could just hand over now to my colleague Lauren Steele, she can provide a response to the remarks that Councillor Scobie made about the forecast milestones for the marina project.
Thank you. Yes, so just to, I suppose, reiterate what Melissa had said there regarding the redevelopment of the George Hotel, the marina likewise we will have that ongoing reporting and be bringing back further updates on the progress of development with the marina expansion project as well. Related to the question from Councillor Scobie around the commencement on site, so currently the programme that we've previously advised on via reports to committee and also through the recent members' briefings. We are still working in line with that programme, but as on all projects, as we work through different phases of the development, particularly the business case side of things and also the technical design development, that programme is a live document that is continually being updated to reflect the current position, and we are working closely with our external consultants in terms of ensuring that we are progressing in line with that programme and addressing as they come up any issues that might impact timelines in that regard. So we will be bringing back further updates as we reach the next stage in terms of that sort of reporting mechanism related to the development, and certainly in advance of the submission of the full business case for approval. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll just bring Councillor Scobie back in. Thanks.
Yeah, I was interested to hear what Melissa had to say in terms. I thought it was only the project board that was referred to on Friday, not another council structure. And if they're being updated, then I think we should be at the same time. And I would hope Melissa takes that away and gives us that assurance that we will be, in terms of the milestones, and the same for the communication, that we get an early feedback in terms of how we're communicating to the public, rather than waiting to the next area committee for this to be raised again, that we get some feedback in terms of those two. Same with Lawrence telling us there that they update it regular. Then any update, then I would hope that this committee would be fed those updates as well. Because if things are being updated, then we need to know, because the target date, or what we've been telling the public, is that the marina will start in 2025. So any update that affects that date, we should know sooner rather than later. That's the only point I would make in terms of the feedback, and thank Simon for the work that's been done. It's good to hear that we can start things in the west rather than the east and turn things on their head. The only bit I missed out, and Davy referred to it, is the phantom £6 million that we were promised from John Swinney at the last election that would come to the Stranraer waterfront project. And we asked on Friday to find out where is this £6 million, and I think we need to know, because there are projects going ahead under borderlands, place plans, under town teams, and they've been presented to borderlands team, I believe. So we need to know where this £6 million is. Not only do we need to know where it is, but how we can access that £6 million to move some of these projects on, so that they're not just projects on paper, but they can be brought to fruition, and that £6 million will be very handy. So we asked on Friday. I don't know if anybody's been able to do that in this short time, but I would like to know as soon as possible.
Thank you for that, Willie. Simon, do you have any update on that, please?
I'm afraid I don't, Chair, at this moment in time, but we'll look into that and come back and let every member know the position.
Yeah, I think we'll take it as an action for updates, because I know when we did visit the George Hotel and when we've spoken about it previously before work did start, we were, as elected members and the public, promised regular updates, and I do feel that if on site there's monthly updates, we could be getting at least monthly emails or bi-monthly emails rather than having to wait to area committee to ask for this information to come forward. I'll just bring Councillor Ingalls on that point, and then I know Councillor Hagman is waiting to speak as well.
Yeah, sorry, it's just on that point. We did request that elected members from Ward 1, a representative, could maybe attend the board meetings on a monthly basis just to get that update. Don't know if that's been actioned or if that's still possible.
Simon?
Thanks, Chair. I'd have to defer to obviously sort of colleagues who were there on Friday, but obviously sort of I've made a note of these things, and obviously can keep an eye on that, and obviously make sure we get some progress.
Yes, just Chair, just to update, we are checking the position on that. It is a governance matter, so we need to get advice from specialists in that, and respond accordingly.
Okay, thank you for that. If it's a governance matter, then we can wait on that decision. But if it comes back that a ward member can't be present at those meetings, I think the expectation from all elected members is to have regular updates if it is a governance issue. But if you could get back to us on that, would that be satisfactory, Councillor Ingalls?
Yeah, I think they don't need to sit in the whole meeting if there's aspects of the meeting that they don't need to be involved in, but at least the basic update of how the project's progressing would be enough for elected members.
Thank you for that. Thank you for waiting patiently, Councillor Hagman. I'll bring you in now.
Thanks, Chair. So apologies, Melissa and the team. I wasn't able to attend the meeting on Friday due to other national meetings, so I wasn't aware that there was a request for Ward 1 member to sit within that. I would be slightly reticent about supporting that. Obviously, it was a members' update and it was not a decision-making forum, but obviously requests can be made. I think on the wider point, an updated comms would be really useful. And there's a huge amount of really positive stuff within here, and I wonder if consideration has been given of a wider update from the local authority of all the positive projects that we're taking forward. I think it's really easy to pick holes and look at the negatives, and you know, as an elected member, it's our role to scrutinise. So, you know, we do our job, we scrutinise, but actually sometimes we need to really celebrate what is working. So I wonder whether there would be an opportunity on an ad hoc basis, I don't know, 6 monthly basis. I wouldn't want to put a burden, but you know, a one or 2 page leaflet, even if it's an electronic newsletter of this is all the fantastic stuff that your local council is taking forward across Wigtownshire as a whole. And I think certainly from an area committee point of view, I would welcome that, you know, from your local area committee, even if it's an update from the area committee of we were really pleased to see these positive projects going forward. I'm really pleased to hear that we do have an outdoor access officer in place, and I guess I would ask Simon, is the outdoor access forum got any scheduled meetings, and will that be taken forward? Because that's an opportunity for the community to actually hear direct and feed into the processes, and it is a legal requirement that we have to be taking forward. In terms of the report in front of us, on page 102, it's got a list of local place plans and where grant support is being made available. And there's a list on there. I guess my question is that only ones that have received support? Because I'm just very much aware that in Wigtown, in the area of Kirkmabrek, they are developing a place plan, but it's not on the list there. So if that list isn't exhaustive, how are we ensuring that the communities know that there is support available? Because, as I say, I know that work is ongoing because I was at a community meeting where it was referenced. So that would be really helpful. My next point, if I'll crack on and then you can bring Chair whoever you want to come back. Obviously, you know, we have got a new housing and inequalities subcommittee that is being formed, and this report does include updates for the strategic housing and the SHIP. So I know, again, in Glenluce, for example, there's concern about the Glenbeigh Hotel and how that can be taken forward. The point was raised with the Housing Minister when he met with cross-party representatives in August, and there was concern about where perhaps a developer is sitting on land but not developing it. Those questions need to be raised. There's too much in here, I think, to delve into the report, and I appreciate that Jamie is not on the call today to maybe answer that. But again, as well as my standing additional recommendation, I think it would be useful to get a further report on how the Wigtown Area Committee can feed in and support the work of the newly formed subcommittee, and how we'll get information back on that, especially in light of the declaring a housing emergency. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. I'll bring Sam Fieldhouse in to answer any of those questions, please.
Aye, thank you, Chair, and through yourself. Just to confirm, obviously, to Councillor Hagman, that yes, we are looking at the scheduling for the actual outdoor access forum meetings. Now that we've got the access officer in place, that will move forward, and obviously provide a bit more feedback in terms of how we can take things forward. Again, obviously with engaging with communities and obviously trying to up the ability and visibility of our access team. In terms of place plans, if I could sort of bring Melissa in, but I'll just go obviously to the Housing and Equalities Committee. I've taken a note of these things, and I'll liaise obviously with Jamie Little and make sure obviously that sort of he's able to come back to the area committee, obviously with regard to obviously any further action or reports that are required. But if I could bring Melissa in relation to the place plans, that'd be really useful.
Okay, Chair, thank you, Chair. In terms of the place plans, so I am inferring that the list that is within the report is a reflection of the position at the end of March 2024. And I think in common with some of the other issues that's been frustrating to the committee and to officers, that the up-to-date information in terms of additional place plans that may have received grants or been supported since then isn't available within the current context of the report. So I can't actually comment on those specifically. What I can advise, however, I did contact my colleague on the police team prior to this meeting, because I understand a question came up at the Friday briefing about updates in terms of timescales. So if I may, I would like to just add that as an update, in that what he advised was that the Wigtown Place Plan will go to the Borderlands Programme Board on the 13th of September, together with the Town Investment Plan for Stranraer. The Whithorn Place Plan is forecast to go to the Borderlands Programme Board in Q3 of this year. Forecast would they believe October it will go forward to that programme board. All the other local place plans are work in progress, with no dates yet confirmed. And I think, as has been commented earlier by Ingrid Gemmell, that they will be part of the LDP3 process if they are completed and registered with the council by next summer. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hagman, would you like to come back in?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and obviously the Wigtown plan was approved yesterday, so it can progress to the Borderlands. It's more on the paragraph 4.5.8, and as I say, Kirkmabrek is not listed within that, and I'm just wondering, will they appear on the next iteration of this report? Is the council aware that, and if they're not aware, how do we ensure that all our communities are taken forward? I'm noting the Isle of Whithorn Community Council is on there. However, I'm also aware that the Community Council in Isle of Whithorn hasn't met for some significant time, and there will be a new Community Council. So how does that sit in terms of where Community Council is taken forward, noting, I think, the comments that Councillor Hill referenced earlier, we're so reliant on our volunteers who are given time. It is really important that we can support where we are. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Councillor Hagman. Simon, do you have any comments?
Just to confirm, Chair, that I'll just double check in terms of whether that will appear on the next iteration of the report back to Area Committee, and obviously liaise with the team to find out sort of if there's ways for us to communicate that support that's out there.
Thank you for that. I'll move on to Councillor Marsh. You'd like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to say that I want to put a little bit of a positive spin on this item. I thought for an end-of-year report that it was hugely positive, especially to see all these projects. Okay, some have been delayed, but getting off the ground, hugely beneficial for the area. Thanks to monies from our previous Conservative government at Westminster through the Levelling Up Fund and through the Borders Inclusive Growth Deal. And without those monies, these projects would not be happening. So it really is heartening to see these projects getting off the ground. Yes, they will take a while. Yes, they're going to be problems along the way, like the George being a bit delayed, but they're going to be hugely beneficial for this area. So I welcome the end of your report. I just want to put a little bit of a positive spin on it. The one question I do have is in relation to, and I'm sorry I don't have actual physical papers, I'm just looking at these online. It's in relation to the Borderlands Business Infrastructure Investment Programme, specifically to do with Newton Stewart. At this week's briefing, we were told about the kind of protracted and difficult negotiations that had been gone through for this area of land in Newton Stewart. And it would appear that I think N have now purchased an even larger portion of the land that we had hoped to build our units on. The concern is that these units would be really, really important for Newton Stewart. Do we know, one, is there another portion of land at this moment in time that has been earmarked, because it looks less and less likely that the Barnkirk site is going to work for us? So do we have another portion of land right now? And if so, how long may this take? Because obviously these will be very, very beneficial for businesses to be using and taking up in Newton Stewart. And if it wasn't to happen, you know, I think it would be hugely detrimental to Newton Stewart.
Thank you for that, Councillor Marsh. I'll pass over to Simon Fieldhouse to respond. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. If I could bring in my colleague Oliver Schimmel on these things, as he's been dealing with that, and we're able to provide a much clearer update than I could.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Marsh, for the question. Yeah, we discussed this earlier on, didn't we? It's Scottish Power and Energy Networks. They've achieved planning permission for a large portion of that site that was identified as part of the business, one of the 3 business infrastructure programme sites. So that's quite hot off the press, really. So now we've got to take our findings from that back to the Borderlands board to consider alternative options for that site as well. So there's a great big long sort of list of priorities that we've got to hit from the use of Borderlands money and the council's own money that's been used to develop out the sites. So we'll have a look through that and see if we can get down to another shortlisted site. But unfortunately, those 3 sites that we've got sort of shortlisted at present are really good sites that they've been chosen because they hit so many, you know, good priority criteria for how that money will be spent, and not just how the money will be spent, but the benefits to be realised in those local areas as well. So we'll certainly keep this committee updated as we progress in how we might find an alternative site if that one can't be taken forward. So thank you for that, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Marsh, are you content with those answers?
I was just quickly going to come back in, but yeah, no, thank you, Oliver. I appreciate that. It's just that in discussions at the Economic Development Seminar this week, it was clear in my mind that the current site, yes, it was going to be great initially. It looks less and less viable, or less and less likely that it's going to, one, happen for us, or leave us with enough land to actually utilise it. So could we not, you know, progress the search, if you like, or kind of quicken the process of looking at another site, because it's looking less likely that the current one is going to be usable.
Thank you for that, Councillor Marsh. Yeah, if you want to come back in, that's great. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's sort of in the background. We are doing some sort of tentative looking at other potential sites. We've probably been doing this for a little while now because there's always the risk of this happening. So, but you're quite right. The amount of land take the Scottish Power Energy Networks have on that site, I do really think it's going to put that site off our radar for this piece of work, which is really unfortunate. On the grand scheme of things, it's another good use of that site. You know, it's nationally important what they plan to do there, but obviously I'm biased from an economic regeneration point of view. I want to see jobs created and, you know, new businesses help set up. So that's our prime motivator. But yeah, we are going to bash on with finding an alternative option, which will have to run by the Boardlands team as well, because obviously those are our 3 name sites in the Boardlands agreement. So we'll have to do a bit of change control around that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Marsh, would you like to come back in?
No, that satisfies me currently. That's grand. Thank you, Chair.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Marsh. Councillor Ingalls.
Yeah, sorry to drag you back to the George Hotel. Just a quick question. On page 101, it says work continued to explore possible financial models for community operation of the site. Specialist organisation completes this work in early Q4 of financial year 23-24, with the project board considering the operational options presented for further consideration. I'm just wondering at what point, given what's been happening recently over the Dumfries end, at what point will elected members get a sight of what the proposals are for any financial planning regarding the running of that site when it's completed?
Thank you for that, Councillor Ingalls. Simon, could you respond, please?
All right, thanks, Chair. I'll bring Melissa in, but yes, I recognise obviously the concerns given the issues that we've experienced in Dumfries with Mowbray and other things. So I'll bring Melissa in and see if she's able to sort of provide a timeline or reassurance of oversight.
Yes, Chair, thank you. If I may, so the situation is that the work that was undertaken last year identified as a kind of preferred way forward, that this would be a third sector run facility. However, in light of lessons learned from other projects and also advice that we received through working with something called the Delivery Associates Network, which is support provided to the Levelling Up Fund projects from the UK government, specialist support. We wanted to explore the potential for bringing in the private sector in a bit more, we want to explore that in a bit more detail. So the work that is underway just now is to do just that. When the work that was done last year to assess, public, private, third sector and arrived at the third sector route, I think that perhaps the engagement with the private sector maybe wasn't in quite the way that we would have hoped it would be. So what we're trying to do now is to develop that kind of engagement with the private sector based on the advice we're getting from the Delivery Associates Network, the UK government, to develop that in a bit more detail. I will seek advice from a line manager about the format and timing of bringing a more detailed report on that forward to elected members. As I say, I'm not clear on that. I've not been directly involved in it myself, but that basically is what we're doing. Is that we're really trying to work hard to bring in some private sector interest in this, and that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be an either-or proposition. It may well be that what we're going to try and do is build on the strengths that public, private and third sector can respectively bring to the delivery of what is going to be an absolutely fantastic facility. And that's what we're focusing on just now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll bring Councillor Ingalls back in.
Yeah, so is Mowbray. The concern, I think, is that elected members, personally, I think elected members should have local knowledge is always a good thing, and that input. Developing a project like the George Hotel is one thing. Developing a sustainable project within the George Hotel building is a completely different thing. So I think it warrants elected members' input, even if it's just Ward 1 members' input. I would like to see it a bit wider than that, because this building's going to impact the whole of Wigtownshire, basically, from a tourism perspective. So, but even if it just involved Ward 1, I think it would be beneficial, Melissa, that they were involved at an early stage in that process. Thanks.
Chair, if I may respond, yes. my own personal view is that yes, I think that's sensible. There's commercial risk associated with this, and I think as a council that elected members need to be fully briefed on that as we work through to coming up with a solution. So as I said in my response previously, I'll seek advice from line management on how we can facilitate that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other members wishing to speak? No, I can't see any hands, so we'll move to the recommendations. So members are asked to, 1, review the overall summary of performance for the Wigtown area for the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, as set out in paragraphs 4.3 and 4.4. And the appendix. 2, consider the area-based achievements and developments as detailed in the key achievements section of this report in paragraphs 4.51 and 4.519. 3, consider any aspects of performance to be referred to the relevant service committees. 4, further report about what will be presented to area committee in the future following the agreed service plan. And 5, I'll let Claire from Governance come in as Councillor Hagman requested a point 5, so I'll let Claire come in on this one.
Okay, thank you. Yes, there was a request about how the new subcommittee links with area committees. Just to bring to members' attention, there was a member seminar on the Tackling Poverty, Inequalities and Housing subcommittee on the 10th of September. So we'll make sure that the lead officers for that committee are aware of the issues raised today and can hopefully address that at the seminar. Thank you.
Councillor Hagman, you happy with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If those leading the seminar can be aware that there is a request and that request can be discussed, that would be really helpful.
Thank you. So we don't need point 5 as a recommendation. So are members happy to approve and agree the recommendations? Thank you. We have 5 minutes until lunch is coming, members, and we do have 2 more items. I'm just kind of wondering if you want to continue. Yep. Okay. Item 11, Wigtown Area Committee Tackling Poverty Budget Monitoring Report 2023-24, report by Head of Thriving Communities. Our next report to members is a monitoring report on the projects which receive support from Wigtown Area Committee Tackling Poverty and Equalities budget. It's good to see that the budget continues to provide significant impact for our local communities. Members will also note that there is a sum of 7,597 which the report is recommending to carry forward to the Wigtown Area Committee Tackling Poverty Fund. Gillian Collins is here to answer members' questions. Councillor Scobie.
Thank you, Chair, and I see it's just as it says, monitor report and updating us on how the projects have moved forward. I'm particularly concerned about remaining budget under 4.6 and carrying it forward. If we can utilise it in this year, and both you and I attended a meeting this week where, and it indeed was recognised in last year's programme, and that was the Christmas hampers. And we can see there from the report, it touches all the anti-poverty and inequalities in terms of children, adults who are most in need. And I would like to think that we can utilise that £7,000 on that same project if they come forward with an application. And if we can use it in this current year, then we do so. Because as you know, Chair, and I know, the monies available to the project this year is very limited, and it does go. One of the biggest user of the hamper service is social work. So I would hope we can utilise that monies in moving forward if we receive an application. And I would hope we can encourage an application from the organisation.
Thank you for that, Councillor Scobie. I'll bring in Gillian Collins.
Sorry, Chair, I'm going to pop in on this one, just to say that having managed this fund previously, this is actually the monitoring report that we're looking at the moment. So members wouldn't be looking to make any decisions around allocating any monies within this report, but there is the ask that the carry forward of the remaining balance is considered, so that it can be considered in the next report, if that's okay by members. Thank you.
Are members happy with that? Councillor Scobie?
Yeah, Chair, as long as we can consider it rather than, you know, agreeing that we carry it forward, that we can use it in this year, if that's possible. And that we consider, if it's being considered in item 12, then I'll repeat myself in item 12.
Yeah, just to confirm for members, the recommendation 2.2 does ask that the remaining balance from the 2023-24 budget is carried forward to the 24-25 budget. So that's what we're asking in terms of that recommendation.
Councillor Scobie.
Clear that we can use it in this year, in this current year, rather than carrying it forward any further, because we carried it forward last year. And if we're talking about tackling poverty, then we should be doing it rather than, you know, carrying it forward. If there's an opportunity to use it to tackle poverty, then we should be doing so.
Yes, so what the recommendation is asking is that remaining balance is carried forward to the 24-25 budget, which is what will be considered in the next report. Okay. Yeah, is that okay? Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hagman?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. So we are being asked, I'm slightly confused as to how the governance of this is working, because I had assumed when we were looking at this year's 24-25. Can I ask, why have we got an underspend? I think that would be the question, because the report says that there were over 100,000 pounds worth of applications, but the fund was only worth around the 67, I think, was it? I've got 67,000. So why was there an underspend? So that would be the initial question. Before we decide how we deal with it, why have we even got it?
Thank you for that, Councillor Hagman. I'll pass you over to Gillian Collins.
Thank you, Chair. There was an application that was received last year and agreed at committee, but the funds weren't drawn down by the applicant. And that became clear at the point of monitoring report when finance colleagues were identified that there was a carryover.
Can I ask why the funds weren't drawn down? If an application was made, there was obviously there was considered a need. Do we know why they weren't drawn down, and was support given to the organisation to help them?
Unfortunately not. We haven't had any notification as to why that money wasn't drawn down. It's strange and was unexpected, I have to say.
Through you, Chair, did we reach out to the organisation to offer assistance to draw that fund down?
The only understanding I have is that that the particular project that they looked to deliver at that point in time, they weren't able to deliver it.
Thank you for that. Do any of the members have questions? No, so we'll move to the recommendations. Members are asked to 1. Note the performance monitoring information for projects initiatives that receive support from the Wigtown Area Committee Tackling Poverty and Inequalities budget for 23-24 detailed in the appendix, and 2. Agree to carry forward the remaining balance of £7,597 from the 2023-24 budget to the 2024-25 budget as outlined in paragraph 4.6. Are members happy to agree the recommendations? Thank you. Item 12, Wigtown Area Committee Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Budget Allocations 24-25, Report by Head of Thriving Communities. This report includes applications for consideration by members for the Tackling Poverty and Inequalities budget for the 2024-2025, along with the officer scoring panel analysis and recommendations. The total fund available to this committee is £48,237 from 2025. Table 1 at paragraph 4.12 it details the scoring panel's recommendations for awards based on the criteria previously agreed by members of this committee. Again, Gillian Collins is present to answer any members' questions and comments. Gillian, would you like to come in first? Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Just to make members aware, the £48,237 that's available for the Tackling Poverty and Inequality for 2024-25 includes the £7,597 carried over funds that was discussed in the previous report. So that's already been included to go forward for the applications that were received.
Thank you for that, Gillian. Councillor Hagman first, and then I'll bring Councillor Scobie in. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, could you just confirm, because I thought you said 48,000 and in the report it says 45,450. So I'm just a bit confused because it's got the allocation as 25.25% of the funds, which is 45, but you're saying that you've already, which I'm not quite sure in the governance whether you, is it in the paper here, the additional 7,000? Because that would, added on, would take us to 52,000. So can we be really clear? Because these are the matter of public record, and I think it's really important that we need to have that clarity. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Gillian?
Thanks, Chair. On 4.5, hopefully it will answer members' questions. So the small grant fund, which members had agreed to open, had allocated money out to organisations under the small grants. So that left out of the £10,000 that was potentially earmarked for small grants under the Tackling Poverty and Inequalities, that left £5,190. And then with the carried over 7,597 gives you a total of £48,237.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hagman?
Yeah, no, I see that within there. I think it would be maybe really useful to capture that figure in the recommendations. So just to note that the total fund is, and actually have that final figure of 48,237. And on that basis, we do have the scoring panels. We've got a process, an agreed process, so I'm quite happy to agree the recommendations as in the paper. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do we have any other members? Councillor Scobie?
Yeah, Chair, just, Katie saying about that, I think there's a surplus then left. I thought we were going to, that we had an extra, we were going to get a win-win there in the 7,000, but it's already been carried over as to what Gillian's telling us, so we don't have that available to us on agreeing the table on page 135. But my understanding is that there will be still some 900 and odd left, and under 4.15 members should consider how they wish to utilise the remaining budget. And I would hope that this committee would be of a mind that, as you know, Chair, you and I met, we have got the Christmas hamper again this year going forward, or hopefully going forward, but it's got a huge amount of money that it requires to raise, still trying to raise that in the short periods that left. So I would hope that we can put that money towards that project with the committee's agreement, because of what it does, and it does serve the Stranraer and the wider area, and I think it even covers into Ward, down to Wigtown and other areas. So it is one that I would hope we can support with any surplus money that's left.
Thank you for that. I'll speak after Councillor Hagman. Thanks.
Thank you. While I appreciate, I think it would be option C in the paper that Councillor Scobie is looking, I would actually prefer to vote for option A, just because I feel it needs to be equitable across the whole of the region and opening the small grants. And of course, that project could put in for additional funding for that and delegated to the lead officer to deal with. I think it would be the most fair way to take forward this, especially as, having just heard the importance of warm banks, the reduction of winter fuel payments, there's going to be some really challenging times ahead. So I would propose option A in the recommendation under 2.4. Thank you.
Councillor Scobie, so is that a proposal and a motion?
As I say, yeah, and as Katie pointed out, it is under option 3, identify a key priority, and I would see the humper pool as a key priority. So I would move option C and recognising the work, the benefits that the Christmas hampers give to so many people. We recognise that in the previous report.
Thank you, Councillor Scobie. Councillor Ingalls?
Yeah, I would second Councillor Scobie.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hagman, do you have a seconder?
I'm not sure. I would look to the room, but if I don't, then I don't. But that's that's democracy. Absolutely.
We're looking online. Any members want to second Councillor Hagman with her option A? Councillor Dashper.
Hi, thanks, Chair. Yeah, no, I think that's the correct option. Yeah, I'd second Councillor Hagman's motion. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move to governance to do a vote. Thanks.
Okay, so we've got a motion and an amendment. The motion's the first one that gets seconded. So the motion's proposed by Councillor Scobie, seconded by Councillor Ingalls. That's option C, which would be a key priority with the Christmas hamper for the £989.75 of the remaining budget. The amendment proposed by Councillor Hagman, seconded by Councillor Dashford, that it be option A in the report. So going to the vote then, Chair.
Motion.
Councillor Dashford.
Option A, please.
Councillor Giusti. Is he on the call? Not currently present. Councillor Hagman.
Amendment, please.
Councillor Ingalls.
Motion.
Councillor Marsh.
Sorry, motion, please.
Thank you. Councillor McCammon.
Motion, please.
And Councillor Scobie. Okay, that's the motion carried 5 votes to 2, that being option C. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So members, we're going for option C, and I'm sure the ward officer will be in touch with the relevant group. Do we have any more questions referring to the report? No, so we'll move to the recommendations. So members are asked to 1, consider the application summaries and scoring panels recommendations as set out in Appendix 2 and detailed in paragraph 4.10. 2, note the priorities, eligibility and criteria as detailed in Appendix 1. 3, agree awards to be made as appropriate. And 4, subject to the decision of 2.3, consider the options and agree how to utilise the remaining budget as outlined in paragraph 4.5, which we have done on a vote, and we have gone for option C. Are all members happy with the recommendations? Would you like the recommendation of to note that the fund, the total balance of the fund, Councillor Hagman, or are you quite happy? Would you like that added in? Yeah, okay, so we'll add in at 5. Note that the total fund is £48,237. Thank you. So item 13, any other business deemed urgent by the chair? No, I don't have any other business. I do understand that lunch is here, and I thank you all for your attendance today and for all the reports. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
Well done, Chair.